Konnichiwa. This is Israel Lopez, Sensei of the Martial Maze. Before we begin today's episode, titled, What Happened to Juneteenth? We'd like to offer a brief explanation on why that's the title of this particular episode. Well, folks, this episode was originally intended to be released in conjunction with Juneteenth. Unfortunately, due to an unexpected publishing issue, it did not upload or appear correctly on our platform. We've since resolved this problem and are pleased to finally share this episode with you. We sincerely apologize for the delay and appreciate your patience and understanding, it being summer and all. For those that are new to the channel, Konnichiwa. Those who've been with us from the very beginning, thank you for your continued support, and as always, thank you for listening. Now, let's get to this episode. Konnichiwa. Welcome to the Martial Maze. I'm with my partner, Barak, Yalad, Shidoshi.
And I'm with my partner here, Israel Lopez, Sensei.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Juneteenth, y'all. Happy Juneteenth, Barak.
Happy Juneteenth.
You know what I'm saying? It's good to be able to say that.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Yes, I get it for those that are watching. There's somebody's like, well, he's wearing the Pan-African. Yes, this is the Pan-African one. I didn't have the, I do have the American one, and you can do both. We went through this in my neck of the woods where I was educated on this, and then somebody had really broke it down to me. They're both good. We can wear the Pan-African one. It's, because our roots do still come from Africa, right? And stuff like that. However, the one that has the almost like it's really the Texas. It almost has the Texas symbol. It's red, white, and blue. That really symbolizes what Juneteenth is about.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the more correct one, air quotations, but both are good because we're still celebrating, right? We're still celebrating that liberation at that time,
that
right?
independence.
Yes, the American story, right?
Yes.
Which is, African American is very much the American story, or at least the foundation, or one of many foundations.
Yes,
but definitely.
Yes.
So before we get into the meat and potatoes of today, this dude right here, can you show us your leg? Can you lift this up for us? Now, there's a really good story, so I'm going to have you tell the story. This was pretty cool, y'all. So, here, please, regale us.
I was in the middle of teaching defensive tactics, and as I was closing that class, one of my students was heading to their car, and they witnessed a car accident. And it was right when I was starting my next class, so I ran outside, seen the car tilted on its side. The person was not able to get out of the car. And I was barefooted the whole time. I didn't even put on my shoes. I just ran down the street. The first thing that came into mind was take out the windshield.
So like the car was flipped, right?
Yeah, it was flipped over on its side.
Okay.
So it turned out the person was drinking.
All
right. And
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, this was like around.
Don't drink and drive, y'all.
Yeah, this was like around 6:30. 6:30. So I ran up to the windshield. At first, I was going to climb up to the top of the car, but the pipe under the car was really hot, so I couldn't do that. And the guy was like trying to really get out of the car. The car was smoking. People had their phones out, all surrounded around the car.
That's always great. Good witnesses, but we could really use help. Yeah.
It took about maybe 4 minutes for fire department, police department to arrive. But in the meantime, I kicked out the windshield. And it took
about saving lives.
Yeah, it took about 2 hits. First hit, it webbed up. Second hit, my foot went right through. All right, I ended up cutting my Achilles, bunch of abrasions on around my ankle area. But it was fine. It was real fine. And that was it from there. We managed to rip open everything, the windshield, and
you were able to pull the man to safety.
Get this guy out of the car.
That's some hero shit, right?
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, that's pretty cool, man. Like, So he told me this off air, and I was like, yo, that's the second time. Like, I remember when something happened when we were kids, and we talk about the way people deal with stressors all the time, right? Fight, flight, freeze, and fawn, right?
Right.
Well, you've always been the fight dude. I'm flight. I take 3 quick ones, then look back and hit somebody. But I'm not. Yeah, you've always been like, we're doing a thing, and I'm normally running behind you. Damn it, we're doing a thing. You know?
Wow.
So yeah, I'm proud of you, bro. I think that's
thank
pretty
you.
badass. I'm like, yeah, that's some real badassery, y'all.
Yeah. I looked it up too, because I was curious, because, as old school martial artists, I mean, we all had our share of breaking bricks and doing certain things, and, I had to look it up. I was like, hey, is it possible to kick through a windshield? And so Google said, no, this is not the movies.
Well, because believe it or not, windshields are designed specifically to withstand, because if they could just break, that's like back in the day it was glass, right? So they literally design windshields so they don't break, and stuff like that. Like, so yeah, that's why I said that's pretty badass.
It stated that it takes 22,000 to 24,000 psi.
Wow.
All right, to bust through a windshield. And I was like, wow, I don't even train like that anymore.
Yeah, well, but again, your body, the adrenaline, and then, of course, the proper mechanic to throw a kick. So,
that's really what it is.
And stuff like that. But that's just it. There's some people that don't understand that part. They don't understand the tool, so they can't use it properly.
Right.
And then there's that part, right? So I thought that was pretty cool, y'all. So that's how we began. I had to tell the story because I was just kind of like, wow, that's stuff. I'm like, did you ever know that you're my hero?
Oh boy.
Yeah, man. I'm like, yeah. That's pretty cool, man. I was like, because I have a special tool in my car just in case.
Yes.
Yeah, we have to break a windshield.
You have to break the glass.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
And keep them there at the bottom of my knife.
But that's just I got one in my car, and I got one in the other car. Just for that reason, right? So I was like, oh wow. And then the whole day he's telling me the story, I'm thinking to myself, can I do that? Ooh, do I want to do that? No, that's why I have the tool.
Yes. But if you don't have the tools, your body becomes the tool.
Yeah, no, like I said, that's still cool, man. I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's I guess to quote Bruce Lee, bullets no hit back. I'm like, well, apparently in this case, you saving lives. So like, you got to do a thing, right?
Yeah, you got to turn your body into that weapon.
Yeah, I'm digging that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's. So we're gonna start this off by getting to the elephant in the room. I made the mistake, and you had to know it was going to be a shit show, but I ended up watching the UFC event at the White House lawn because a part of me still has that whole remember Street Fighter back in the day, right, the video game, and then you see them fighting in it. I think there was a White House where they're fighting in the White House.
There's different scenes.
Yeah, with different backdrops in it. So a part of me was like, to be a fighter that was fighting at the White House, even though, they trailer parked the whole thing, right? The worst thing ever for our nation's capital. But hey, I'm gonna go fighter mode, right? I'm not gonna. We're not talking politics. We're just gonna talk how cool that was, to be coming out of the old the areas of the White House and stuff like that. I don't know. I've done the tour, but way back in the day, but and how that would be, right? And then, of course, I don't know what was going on. That fight card was probably the worst fight card ever. I'll be the first to tell you that. And mismatch fights. It was, it just wasn't. You got to figure they would have put together a better card. You know what I'm saying? For something that monumental, right? It should have been a better card. But then, of course, we have the embarrassing moment. Now, here's the thing. The Josh Hokit, whatever his name is. And we try never to call out folks on the show, but this is one of those ones where, look, he says what he says about Michelle Obama, but it's not his first time, right? People are all up in arms about it, and they're all like, oh, well, and Joe Rogan, there's a reason Joe Rogan stayed quiet. You know what I'm saying? I would have loved for Joe Rogan to have been more of a man, but apparently that part missed him. And of course it's black people, so whatever, right? We're expendable because apparently black lives don't matter. But again, it'd be one thing if we had a ton of black presidents and all this other. But this is the first one we ever had. Yes. Right. Yes. And then the first lady, who we're not even going to go there with her her pedigree, right? Because it's off the charts.
Yeah, it's
right?
impeccable.
It's, and you might not like a person, but to make and it's very 100% steeped in racism. And so we're going to call that part out, right? And this has always been my pet peeve with things like the UFC or Gladiator or anything, right? Because it misses that mark, and it's combatives, and we can say it's still in the realm of martial arts because combatives doesn't care, right? If you're good or evil, right? It's just combatives. But the way we look at martial arts now, the bigger picture, right? The way it's evolved into conduct of character, being a good person, all of that stuff, right? I can be a thug in the ring, right? And don't get me wrong, this guy's excuse for his behavior has always been, I'm the Iron Sheik, right? He's like, this is the role I'm playing. I'm gonna be this guy. But this guy's been saying racist shit his whole career. I mean, that's legitimately this guy's thing. You know what I'm saying? So that's why, but I do like the fact that Dana White did finally say something.
Yeah.
But again, in that case, it was more disingenuous because for me, it was the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, look, African Americans and people of color consume a lot. We spend the money, and we spend more than our white brothers and sisters and stuff. Believe it or not, right? And when we pull away from something, they feel it.
Yes.
They feel that when that revenue gets hit. Target felt that when they walked back the DEI and all that other crazy stuff, and they walked all that stuff back. They felt that. They felt that hurt because we stopped spending. We started boycotting. We stopped going there. Even in places that were food deserts, people were going way out of the way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? To other places.
To prove a point.
Yes, to prove that point. So with that being said, we see this. So I did want to address that right away, man. And I love the fact that, people are like, well, the Obama should sue this, that, and the third. But as of right now, when we're filming this, well, no. Who is that guy? He's nobody. So why give him the press?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And stuff like that. Why make it a bigger deal? And I like that they're, again, when they go low, once again, the black excellence, they're going high.
Right.
I'm calling it out simply because it's conduct unbecoming of a martial artist.
Right. And it's something like that, like you don't stoop to their level. You stay silent. Silent is usually the best, best way of attack. They don't hear you coming, or you just don't mention anything. They don't know how you're going to respond, but you never respond.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it was very distasteful, and I wish the White House would have denounced it.
Well, that guy's not going to. That's not his way.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he posted them up as gorillas.
Yeah.
All right. But, hey, listen, they have the Obama Presidential Center in Chicago that opened up.
Yes.
And I just seen some video, as they went through a tour, and it was very phenomenal,
Well, I like the fact that so they had the thing going on. I caught that, but I like I guess there's before you go to like the sitting in his chair and all that other good stuff. So most people didn't know this. I didn't know this, and again, why I said he was a really cool man. So apparently, part of his briefing, like people would write letters in and stuff like that, and I think they aired it on the news shows. Our former president Barack Obama get choked up on air, like he got misty-eyed, and apparently, so he'd read stories from regular people, and it was a way to keep him in touch. And I was like, wow, man, that guy was a real class act.
Yeah.
I'm like, whether you disagree with his policies or didn't agree with his policies, and you had to understand that back in his tenure, that it wasn't just easy.
Well, it's all about what does it mean to be human being? What does it mean? And holding that office and being able to connect with the people is very important. And when you lack those basic principles of how to connect with the people, versus just connecting with your alikes.
Before we get to our main topic, you brought up something that was really profound, and I did want to talk about it a little bit and give it some time, because I almost feel like we could do a whole show about it. But so you'd said to me, what if we had social media and things like the way we have technology now back in the 80s, back in the 70s?
Yeah.
So I want all our listeners out there to really meditate on this, because we deal with all these charlatans, right? Would Frank Dukes had been able to tell the lie that he told, all that, like, would he have been able to get away with it? And the reason why we're saying Frank Dukes, again, not opinion, this is a factual thing, that it's been not just rumored, but I think there's enough there now to say that he made up the whole blood sport thing. Right?
Yes.
It didn't, like, that's not just, well, that's your opinion and it really happened. Like, there's nothing, he was never able to really produce any real proof that it existed, right? So with that being said,
I don't even know if he really trained at all per se. I don't know.
Yeah.
Same thing with Ashita Kim.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, right? So again, we're just because again we're always very careful when we're throwing out names and things like that. But I thought it was really cool because I said, well, the charlatans there would have already been a thing called Bushido.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So a Bullshido or
Yeah.
a Mac Dojo. Would those have existed? Well, think about all the thinking about Mac Dojo, right?
Yeah.
All the people that, well, the womanizing that went on back then, it would have been called out sooner.
Yes, it would
You know
have.
what I'm saying? The predatorial behaviors would have been called out earlier. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that.
Could be because we were raised differently. So, there was a chain of command that we actually respected. So I think that a lot of things would have definitely came to light and we would have dealt with it a lot different. But at the same time, we were raised different in the arts where we highly respected who we were under and we highly respected our schools versus now. I mean, we actually looked at ourselves as students versus customers. All right. And so because of now how people treat their teachers or view their instructors is very different because a lot of that is been extracted out of some schools now.
So I always say it's the red flag, right? You knew there was going to be a red flag. BJJ is going through it, and I get it, low-hanging fruit. We talk about it all the time. Where somebody said, well, do you have a thing with BJJ? No, absolutely love the martial art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. However, you knew that was going to be problematic when you ask somebody, well, why do you study this? And they say, well, because we don't have to do any of that bullshit where we have to come in and bow and we, I can kind of come in and be me and explore me,
Yeah.
and all the things that keep the codes, the tenets of
Yes.
whether we call it Bushido or whether we're talking about just a dojo kun. For those that don't know, it's kind of the rules of conduct, right? And well, when they were saying that part, get rid of that part. We don't want to have rules of conduct. We want to just be able to come in and everybody just be the individual and do all that stuff. We're going to play some music. And don't get me wrong, some of that stuff I enjoyed. I was like, told you, one of the first experiences I had at one was in California, and they had Bob Marley music playing. And as soon as I'm listening, don't worry about a thing. And we're just going through them. We're just rolling, right? And I was like, this is amazing. This is so great. But then I, of course, meditating it as I often do, reflecting as I left that particular gym, I was thinking, well, this can be problematic because I did watch some students just roll in when kind of willy-nilly. Like these guys weren't even high level black belts.
Yeah.
These were like white belts, and they're just kind of showing up and they're hugging walls. And so the professors going over a technique, and guys are side conversations and just kind of
It's crazy.
and this is a class, right? And I'm going, well, what
Or
is
coming in at
happening here?
any time. We never showed up late.
Yeah,
We just didn't do that. Now
class
it's
starts at 7. Yeah,
it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Like, don't tell me when I can't come. I got life. I had to come from work from here. So, and I'm like, no, I understand that.
I was like half baked, right? My moms be tripping.
And I'm like, my goodness. But yeah, I think based on how we were raised, it would just be. I think there would be more character. Even if we had this technology back in the day, because character was a big thing for us, and that character doesn't exist. Well, it does exist, but it's small.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, now anyone and everyone can say anything about everyone, even if they're top tier instructors that have been doing it like us for over 40 years or 50 or 60 years. That person on the keyboard or that person that's in Boise, Idaho is going to be like, you're garbage.
Yeah. and it carries weight. You know what I'm saying? So, and if he has enough followers, you got a ton of other people saying you're garbage. And you're like, what?
And it really can mess with you. At the same time, there's top tier instructors. There was one, I'm not going to mention his name, but we know him, was putting out content of what he teaches in his dojo. And boy, he had a slew of positive comments, but then a slew of negative comments that would never work in the street. This won't work, and I'm going to tell you why it wouldn't work. And so he had to really, being that he is the man he is, and everyone knows him in the martial world, okay? Yeah, he had to mention something on the side, and that's it, and he shut the door. And I believe he stopped showing content, period. Just stop, because when you put it out there, regardless, it becomes fair game.
Well, yeah, fair game. You're going to get, and I always say this because, yes, when I had a conversation with that individual, I said, look, man, you got to come to grips with the fact that you're going to have haters, or people are always going to say that look, this doesn't work. That's not going to work. Especially when we're talking about the self-protection stuff, right? And in a system that's more lethal, and it's not sport, because most folks that study martial arts are in sport martial arts.
Yes.
They're in a sport. Look, listen, the clear sign that you're in a sport martial art, right? Or a sport martial art location. When you're doing a ton of conditioning drills. That's always a dead giveaway, right? You're not really practicing the technique. You're not flowing through the techniques over and over again. That's a whole separate thing. You're training to use the tool, right? When you're going through a process over and over again. Now, I'm not talking about that. When you're doing things that are specifically designed to condition your body to make it over 3 minutes, to be able to continue a fight 4 or 5 rounds in. Like you're doing the row work, you're doing the push-ups, you're doing the sit-ups, you got a kettlebell, right? Or even if you're just in class and you're still doing not so much as flow drills, but you're lifting somebody up and you're kind of carrying them across the mat, boom, and you're lifting them. These are all conditioning drills to get your body to perform at a certain level over time. Yes. Where you got to last 5 minutes, especially in the sport of judo, right?
Right.
Which, yes, you can take those things, even in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even when you're drilling something over and over again, but then you're flow rolling and things like that, and you're starting to pressure test a little bit, and then you start adding other things in to condition yourself. Why? Because you need to go 8 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I have an 8-minute match. I have to be able to roll for 8 minutes, so I got to condition myself to do this. When you think about regular, not punch kick karate, for those that train in an actual martial system that is geared more towards I'm going to categorize it as street combatives, then that part isn't happening because that part's not needed. Now, your sensei may say, hey, let's get fit just to be fit, right? Let's kill some time in the dojo. So we're going to do some push-ups. We're going to do some sit-ups because we all want guns, right? And stuff like that. But that's at the YMCA. You can go to a gym and get those guns. Yeah. Like I said, I was saying the other day to somebody at a GNC, I was saying, how do you pressure test eye gouging?
Yeah, you can't.
You can't. I can get my hand close to your eye, but how do I constantly pressure test that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. Run into the reason why we have things like judo because old jitsu, everybody was getting broken. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we had to figure out, Zocano had to come up with a system or a way of doing something, gentle way, right? Yeah. So you weren't getting broken all the time, right? The risk became a lot less and you can still get the same benefit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. So I always say that's normally the thing that teachable moment right now, y'all, is that, yes, if you're doing a lot of conditioning, you're probably in a sport-oriented school. If you're doing a lot less of that and you're doing more of the things that are going to help you survive and stuff like that, and, then you're learning how to use the tool. It becomes a functional thing. Right? I think Haskins Sensei has a way of saying this.
Yeah. I use a mixture of both in my school. I want my students to be conditioned as well as be able to fight and be able to defend themselves. So I kind of mash it all up in there. But yeah, my biggest pet peeve is people passing the art off for self-defense. And I get it. You have some arts that are self-defense, so-called self-defense. But when I look at it, it doesn't look like self-defense at all.
No.
It just looks like a collection of techniques, and you're just combining and connecting the dots. Okay, so if he's here and you take him over with an uragyaku, and then from there you pop him up into a sankyu or whatever, and I'm like, okay.
Well, there's a whole bunch of tools to address it. Well, because are you selling the complication, right?
Right.
We've talked about this in other episodes. That you got folks out there who look. If the goal is to have a martial arts school that's going to be a business and I'm going to make some money from it, then I have to keep a customer base, right? Right. Got to keep you coming back. So I may sell the complication, right? Because if I'm just teaching good self-protection, good self-defense, we'll move past the self-protection part because that's living your life in such a way, right? We're just going to get into the self-defense, which is the physical actions, right? Yeah. Well, that's not a lot. That's 6 months at best. That's a long time. You know what I'm saying? But that's 6 months of best practices, and that's it. Well, then you need a constant flow. Right?
Yeah.
You can't live off of 6 months and then you graduate. You never have to come back again because you now have trained enough times with these simple techniques, because it's simple, stupid. It's not complicated.
Right.
And then combined with good self-protection,
Yes.
you have a good bye. See you later, y'all. I'm like, woo, you too. Right.
Right.
So, well, now I need to add things to it. All right, so I'm going to teach you the use of this tool, right? So I teach you like Sankujo, right? I teach you the tool, and then what I've seen in other places is that, well, now I got the tool, now I need to add the complication.
Yeah.
So I taught you this. I taught you how to use this tool. And now I'm going to show you how different examples to use that tool.
Yeah.
And I'm going to show you a ton of different examples.
Right.
Right? And stuff like that to make it take longer for you to really understand. Because if I just taught you how to use that tool,
Yeah.
then you're only limited by your imagination and now you're good. I mean, how many lessons do you need to have to learn how to use a hammer?
Right. And so that's where I make the distinction of leaving that part as art.
Yes.
All right. So that's why most students that come to my school, okay, you have the art part and you have defensive tactics. Do you want them both, or you want one or the other? All right. So when you're learning the art, then you learn nagare, you learn the flow and connect from one lock to the next, and we start playing around with it. But I'm very clear. You're not going to, this gives you a certain kind of education, and you're able to apply it to your defensive tactics because you know where it belongs, but it's not going to appear as such.
Yes.
All right. Right now, we are agreeing with each other to learn something, and we're going to flow with each other. Now, when we go into defensive tactics, we're going to play with it, but now we're going to add resistance. No one's going to let you do that. He's going to try to turn 50-50, double leg scoop you, and you know what I'm saying?
He's going to do a bunch of other, I dig that. I think that's really cool. You know what I'm saying? But I agree with you. I think more martial systems need to just tell that part. Like, look, hey, this is the byproduct. But any martial system, the byproduct of that system is that you will have a degree of good self-defense, right? Even boxers who box can still throw hands,
right?
You know what I'm saying? If they need to, right? So again, you're going to get a byproduct. There's always going to be a byproduct, right, of good of self-defense. Now, let's just be honest and say, look, man, this system right here you're learning is the 57 Chevy, and now, here's a car, but now let's get into the intricate parts. And now I'm going to put some chrome, right? We're going to work this engine up, right? We're going to do a thing. And that's your art.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you're celebrating. So, because I talk about that when I talk about kata, and I romanticize about it all the time. I'm like, kata has always been important because it not so much as, yes, I'm always thinking bunkai. Right, because again, I told you when I learned kata, it was 2-man.
Right,
and then you learn, then the dance became the separate thing. Right, so that that's why kata. When I do kata, it almost always looks different because I'm almost always applying the bunkai in my mind. So the movements are geared thinking about the bunkai, each individual piece.
Right.
And even then, there's times where I'll break on something, and you're like, well, when I watched like someone like a Jesse Inkamp do that very same kata, he didn't do, well, no, Jesse Inkamp's doing, he's demonstrating the dance, right, if you will. And I'm not taking anything from him. He's an amazing guy, and so the karate nerd, it's a good show. He's really good at what he does and stuff like that, but because he knows both, he knows the bunkai, but he was also a high-end competitor, and he knows what the judges are looking for, right? But even the shift of the y'all can't see my legs, but even even the ankle, right? Like the shifting of the weight and the balance when you're throwing a side kick, or, you know what I'm saying? And, like if trying to think real quick, so you're doing Pinan Yodan, right? Or for the fourth Pinan, right? Or Hinan, depending on what art. Well, the terminology, right? So there's one where you're literally throwing the side kick out, right? And you watch when you're applying the bunkai to that kick, it changes.
Yeah.
How you do it.
Yeah. Even your chamber, how it comes
Yeah,
up, because
yes.
that chamber
well,
was
because
a
that
sweep.
chamber, yes, it's a catch, and then it comes out, right? So that was the whole point, right? And stuff like that. So in my mind, I'm doing it that way. However, when I'm watching other systems and things like that, it's really when they're teaching the dance and it's the connection to, for me, when I'm doing kata, it's that I'm being connected to all the people who came before me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. This is the way it's been done since its inception, right? And there might be a little tweak here, some more might add at that end, might add at that end, like all these, and, and then I'm adding something to it because it is mine.
Yes.
It is my expression of these, I'm utilizing the same tools,
right?
But we all didn't have the same body. Well,
right.
It's pretty cool. You know what I'm saying? When I get into, and I'm thinking about the breath, and I'm thinking about everything, especially when I'm doing this. So I do it like 3 or 4 times. You know, I've had conversations about this off air where I've said when I'm working through kata, there's one for health where I'm really connecting, rooting my body, really thinking about the stretch, the form of it all, right? The health part. Then the second time I roll through it, now I'm connecting the dots. I'm thinking bunkai the whole time, right? And then by the fourth time, and I'm jumping around, but by the time I get to the fourth time, now this is just the flow, the connectivity.
Yes.
So I'm putting it all together. Now I'm getting all of it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. And I always come away in the end. I told you, I still keep connected with the Okinawan root. You know what I'm saying? Even though I love judo, I teach judo. But it's very much still that's the part for me in the martial arts that's my 57 Chevy, and I hold it very tight.
Right. As you should, as you should, And so you want to be able to make those kind of connections, and it's different for everyone. I need people to stop sharing like they share their bunkai like it's the only bunkai. Right? We got to stop with that. You know what I mean? You allow yourself to make the connections. You have your own brain. You have your own intelligence. You make your own connections. But there's a problem with people. No, that's not the right bunkai. This is the right bunkai. And it's like, no, it doesn't necessarily work that way.
Well, I think it was Haskins Sensei said your body will reject information it doesn't agree with. Your body will just reject it. So, yeah, you're doing a thing. And if you yourself don't really understand what you're doing or why it's being done, and it could be just straight bullshito, like it's bullshit.
Right.
But your body's going to reject it, and you'll stop doing it. You'll stop practicing. You'll just be like, well,
whatever.
Yeah, no, that was ineffective. It just didn't work. And it's like, well, was it an effective technique, or did you just not understand the technique? Like, there's a whole process. But again, it is still your journey, right? Yeah. You, the practitioner, it's still your journey.
It's a lack of understanding, you know, and that's it. And that goes on the instructor, and it also, falls on the student too. I mean, listen, like, you have to be responsible. Like when you're in college, no one's holding your hand to complete your courses.
No.
Here's your course. This is what you need to know. All right. And it's your responsibility to pass the test.
Because the student loans is coming.
Yeah. And the more you know.
Right.
So it's your responsibility, and I think what it is that people want to be, fed continuously over and over again. No, you have to learn to think for yourself. You have to take this home. You have to deconstruct it. You have to play with it. You do that with everything else. If you got that new video game, do you just leave it in its cellophane? No, you're going to bust that bad boy open and you're going to start playing with it. You're going to die a few times, and then you're going to go on Google to try to figure out a walkthrough to get through it, but you really dedicate your freaking time. Yeah. All right. And if you take that same mentality and apply it to your art, you'll be fine.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like that in itself, going back to the original thing when we were talking about if the technology had existed back then, yeah, there would have been so much more stuff. Actually, you know what? I'm going to tell you what. There would be a lot more praises for African-based martial arts.
Yeah.
That's been a hot topic, ladies and gentlemen. We have an episode that's going to be coming up where we get into it with it's in the works right now, so no roses until it closes.
Yeah.
Where we're going to be addressing knocking and kicking. And if you don't know what that is, you need to look it up because it's an African martial art that came with the slaves when they were brought over. Happy Juneteenth, y'all, again.
Yeah.
So we were talking about this yesterday. I was talking about this with Haranzi Sensei, and we were going over how Hollywood, like how we all begin our martial journeys. And I was saying how my first emergence in martial arts was Kung Fu theater.
Yeah.
And I think there were a lot of us who got indoctrinated into martial arts by watching it on TV first, and then found our way at whatever dojo and stuff like that to whatever we had around us, right? Like, so it led to like things like Hollywood Shuffle and movies that were talked about how Hollywood literally was a best practice. They would not show, you could not be a black hero. right? At that point in time in history, they would don't get me wrong, they cast black folks, but always as a minor character or comic relief or slaves or drug dealers or
Right.
and it led to a kind of persona, right? So when we talk about this in the martial arts, well, most of the African-based martial systems, that's why when you hear people talk about it, they're like, oh, that looks a lot like Kali. That looks like a lot of Savat. That looks like something else.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, this is all this systems are older than those.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So somebody got it somewhere. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. There were black people walking around the Roman Empire. Right?
Yes,
we know
yes.
this. It's not an opinion.
Yes.
We know this. There were black people there. Right?
Yes.
There's like, hey, I was here.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Another way to look at it is that we, like the term you always use, fighting is fighting. And so when you make these cross connections, whether you're dealing with HEMA or historical European martial arts or Southeast Asian martial arts, or if you're dealing with Japanese martial arts, which I like the Japanese because Japanese is grappling based. And so when you see what the Romans were doing, Greco-Roman and all that, and you find like, oh, we do the same thing. We just handle here a little different and we do this instead of that. And so you'll find a lot of similarities. We all draw the same conclusions. Listen, like math wasn't any different from around the world. We all came to the same conclusion on how to read the stars.
Yeah.
All right. How to put up pyramids. All of these things, we did it by the math, by the numbers, and the numbers never lie.
Yeah.
And so but now the technique on how to get there can be
different.
Cultural.
Yeah, there could be a
Different.
cultural thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, bodies are designed differently.
yeah.
I always
And that's
say
the beauty of it.
Well, yeah, my pet peeve sometimes has always been folks who they give a lot of grace to those who came before. And when I say that is they kind of come up with, well, this is what that person was thinking back then. And I'm like,
how do you know?
no, well, it's not even that, man. The things that evolved and changed in a lot of martial systems, well, case in point. So we look at, was it Matsumura Soken and Takahara Tori Sakagawa. Oh no, I'm trying to think my lineage real quick. For Shurite, but I think Matsumura changed the forms and stuff like that. And there's a famous quote. I want to say it was Matsumura Sensei. Somebody out there kind of correct me at some point. I should actually know this. It's a little embarrassing right now because I'm supposed to know this. But basically, it was a famous quote that said, "Hey, look, I taught that the katas were done this way." And now I come back, and now all the katas have changed and stuff like that. And it was, because people, I'm going to add this little taste to it, or I'm addressing this a little more than that. You know what I'm saying? Or when you look at the Pinans and Hinans, depending on if you're Shurite, if you're Tawarite, or Nahate, that same forms, but they all look different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. Well, because this was being emphasized or that was being emphasized. So that being said, folks out there giving a lot of grace to the past, going, yeah, that's what they were thinking. No, because they weren't. Or even right now, I'm like, well, I should have used this. I should have used this better. This would have been a better thing. A musket versus a bullpup. Right?
Oh boy.
Right. Or an AR versus a musket.
Yeah, it's just not.
Yeah, I'm like, I have a musket. I had to.
Yeah,
Get the powder, poof, and maybe I got you, right? And then you had the AR, you're like, no, right? So the weapon, the tool is different. Yeah, I mean, it still has the same purpose, but it's evolved, it's changed.
As it should.
Yes.
And that shows
ingenuity.
Wow,
I was all over the place.
Yeah, and that shows ingenuity, and that's very important, and that's what the art should be. That's why it's called an art. You know what I'm saying? I think people miss that part. Everyone's trying to be martial, and then, and trying to make sure everything does what it's supposed to do. But you also got to understand, it is an expression. It's an art.
Well, it's a big tent. It no longer means what it used to mean. And I think that's another thing that constantly always gets lost in the equation. Like when we're talking about combatives, look, tools are neither good or evil. The people utilizing the tool decide if it's going to be used for good or bad. If I have a horrible moral compass, like some UFC fighters, it doesn't matter. Like there's something that Dana White did say that I do agree with. Their job is to go in there and beat the shit out of each other. I'm like, I don't really care if they're good people or not. You know what I'm saying?
That's their job.
Yeah, it's their job. Their job is to go there, be entertainment, make us money, and go beat people up.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Because case in point, gladiators they didn't need to be bright.
No,
they just needed to fight and win, and because we like frothing at the bit, we like organized violence, right? We do, as people, we're kind of drawn to it, and we're like, yeah, beat him up. I don't care if he gives to charity, beat him up. I don't care. He's hitting people he beats his wife all the time, beat him up. There's no good moral compass, but. At the same token, we look at a martial artist, right? Why do people show up? They want to learn good self-protection, self-defense, but they also want, when a parent goes to the dojo, what they don't want is, you don't send your kid to the dojo if you know that the sensei there beats his wife up.
Right.
At that point, you're like, no, he's a scumbag as a person, and ain't martial arts supposed to teach you to be a good person? Character, right? Yeah. And that's what I said. So it's a big tent. It doesn't mean what it used to mean.
Yeah, and like I said, it left an Asian cultural kind of custom to an American custom. And that's what it is. This is where Americans.
Yeah, we Americanized that shit. Yo, what's up?
Yeah, this is how we like to do it. You know what I'm saying? And
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
No. So it's one of those things. BJJ was never like that in the beginning. It was definitely had its Japanese customs when it was in South America. And it did leak here when it came to North America, but once it became popular and everyone had their hands on it, they turned it into what they felt it should be.
I wonder if that had more to do with folks pushing back on gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Because we deal with that in martial arts all the time.
Yeah.
I got hit with that fairly recently in comments. Somebody said, what makes you an authority? And so I gave the definition why I'm an authority in martial arts and my time in and my accolades and all that stuff. And in the end of the day, it went back to, I had to meditate on that for a bit. You know what I'm saying? Are we gatekeeping?
Yeah.
Right? For those that don't know, and I will say it again because you're going to hear this a lot, y'all, so pay attention. The Martial Maze helps folks navigate the complexities and pitfalls that one finds when they deal in the vast world that is martial arts. And we cover everything. Yep. I mean, everything, y'all. So I break the wall right there. Somebody's like turning away. Why is he looking at me? But yeah, I mean, we really do.
Yeah.
So we definitely talk about the taboos. And I feel like that's one of those things that doesn't get brought up enough. Look, in a perfect society, in the land of perfect, we don't need a Mac Dojo life. In the land of perfect, right? We don't need Bullshido, that platform, in a perfect world, right? Because everybody's doing it right. People aren't molesting kids. They ain't raping women. They're good, upstanding people. But we don't live in that world, right?
Right.
And in martial arts, we tried to never talk about it. But we do on the show. We always have. I'm like, no topic is off the limits. You know what I'm saying? The only thing we don't do, typically, for the exception of today, is call out folk by name. There are other platforms that do that, and we respect them. We always tell you, look, if you're watching our show, Mac Dojo Life, you need to tune into that brother. He's always been doing a thing, throwing a lot of shine on those folks that should not be teaching. They should not be teaching. They should be away from people. Don't get us wrong. Because of platforms like that, we try not to do that. Our goal is to give you enough information so you don't end up at that dojo in the first place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You recognize it right away.
And you know what questions to ask.
Yes. So that's always where we're coming from. They always say that's our guiding star. Am I saying that right? Guiding star?
Guiding light.
Yeah, guiding light. So because I do get asked that all the time. Yeah. They're like, well, what separates y'all? And I said, well, y'all, in case y'all had missed it, we black. And we're also throwing a lot of light and shine to those in our community who don't get any press, because we're still very much living in fortunately in the martial arts, it's still very much a race thing here too, where black excellence typically isn't celebrated, or it's never celebrated to the level it should be. And then we always put those folks on blast, and we always people ask about modern combatives. No, it's not. No, we're not segregating. You know, we film, our Caucasian brothers and sisters in the martial community. Yes. We want to give them their praises too, especially when they're getting it done. But we did notice that even myself, like you knew Jim Kelly. I mean, you knew of Jim Kelly and stuff like that. But me coming through the ranks, I I just knew him as the black dude who gets killed in Into the Dragon.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't realize there was so much African American influence in martial arts.
Ron Van Cleef.
Yeah, Van Cleef. Like, and, remember, you were talking to me about Cedro Abdul Kabir. I was like, who's that? You know what I'm saying? I remember that back in the day. I was like, what? Wait a minute. Who are all these people? And wow, this is great. You know what I'm saying? And I opened my eyes to a lot of things. And again, I had to ask myself, why did I not know about these people? The only person I knew of is Moses Powell.
Right. And another thing is that black martial artists and just martial arts in general, like you said, in Hollywood, wasn't presented in a certain light, you know, how we was always the villains. But then there was a thing called black exploitation films. All right. And
Dynamite.
So we were the
Dynamite,
heroes.
yes.
All right. So you would watch Coffee and then see her do her martial art moves and all of that. So there was a lot of it going on in these films at that time.
But even with those films, the only pushback I had with those films is it still portrayed the areas, and it's still real life, right? But we were typically in ghettos and things like this, so it's still reinforced, even though you had a black hero.
The pimps, the hustlers.
It still reinforced all of that part too. So it was like
Shaft. But there's a lot of history there. So and it just shows how resilient we are, and that we will always continue to rise no matter the opposition. Yeah. You know, and that's why I say to every martial artist, you know, focus on your art, focus on your craft. Don't focus on anyone else, and you'll shine on your own. You'll be your own star. You know,
that's 100. Yeah. But so I did want to clarify that because it came up in recent comments, and I've been kind of dealing with that. And it's Juneteenth. So I did really clarify that that's always been our stance. This is who we are. This is where we come from. Not to say that we do not, because we do. Again, we film our Caucasian brothers and sisters, you know, all the time, and our Asian brothers and sisters as well. But we always want to give the flowers to the folks that are really behind the scenes and that's the thing. I guess that was my point.
Shining a spotlight.
It's like you got all these guys that have been doing a thing for so long, and you hear other folks in other martial systems drop those names. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And stuff. So there's folks that are out there who are they're dropping that name. They talking about Moses Powell. They talking about Sanukas. They talking about this art. They talking about Swam as an afterthought when they're promoting their thing. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, well, you know, like, are you giving that praise where it should be?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that, you know. Or, that's just that group, and they're going to click. Well, no, there's the swamps in Peru. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's a big martial system. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or even with the most controversial 52 blocks. Yeah. And the folks who 100% want to just have it associated with prison culture, and that's where they want to stay in that locked box. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. Instead of going, well, no, folks, mass incarceration is a thing, man. I'm like, you know, so you had folks.
And believe it or not, we get a lot of love from our Asian brothers and sisters.
Yeah, we do.
What we do to the art, like we touch everything, and we're like the Harlem Globetrotters of things. So once we get our hands on it,
we spice it up.
Yeah, we do something else with it. And so when we go to Japan, when we go to China, and we demonstrate what we do, we get a lot of love.
Well, you know, because here's the thing. Most martial systems weren't addressing fighting on a subway. Mm-hmm. They just weren't.
Or in the elevator.
Yeah, I'm like, they just weren't. Or in closed positions. I'm like, they just weren't, because that wasn't the way it was done, and that wasn't their areas. Right. But there are certain things that are specific to the urban, which urban is just a classier way of saying black. Urban environments. So like, because of this, a lot of martial systems started adapting and adding in those parts, because they were like, yo, this is practical.
I'm sitting on the subway train, and now we invent techniques. We create them. They weren't originally
they weren't there because we weren't in a subway seat. We didn't have a bar right here. That's what I'm saying. I said, I remember telling somebody, said one of the first weapons I learned was a four-legged horse. And what the hell's a what? You didn't learn that? And I'm like, because where was I going to be at? I was going to be at a bar. Right. And Kenny, my instructor, Ken Mareki Sensei, very much like the alcohol. Yeah. So we training at the bar, and a bar stool was that became your weapon. That was your first weapon and stuff like that. So Kenny made it a point to make sure that you can address being at a bar and stuff, because this is where we're going to be hanging out.
What tools? You got pool balls, you got pool sticks,
dude. And I'm
like bottles.
And so urban, urban fighting, right?
Right.
It made more sense,
Right.
and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm like, yo, but yeah, because everybody laughs when I say that. I'm like, yeah, four-legged horse. I beat your ass with a bar stool.
Yeah.
I really can. I'm like, it wasn't like a formal like where you're like, ha ha, and then you move around the bar stool. No, we weren't doing any of that. It was more like pot came out, boom, I put it between you and I, bam.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah,
and that's what I think it should be. And that's why, believe it or not, I don't know. It's a issue here in America when it comes to the arts. But outside of America, people are laughing at us. You know, they're just like, these guys are just bickering and
for like, they're like, meanwhile they're taking notes, right? Because there's a guy, so case in point, where we're all complaining about where 52 blocks and all that other, there's a guy in Austria that's doing 52 blocks. And marketing it like he's all over the place, and I'm watching the video and I'm like, huh.
And we're over here freaking at each other's
we mad about it. This guy making millions. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, well, there it is.
Yeah, it's very interesting how people come from other countries and they highly respect what we do, all right? Versus even when we go over there and we show what we do, we get that respect. But here, it seems to be a problem. Majority of the trolls, believe it or not, the trolls are American.
Yeah.
I don't get trolls from Japan.
No. Most of the time they recognize what it is right away, and they're like, okay, okay, he's doing the class. Okay, that's all right, and that's and they can differentiate. I guess here it's just nope, it's not what I do, so it's bullshit.
I mean, like even the UK, like really, like there are trolls there that will chime in here and there, but not really.
No,
it's
we
really
get a lot of love.
Americans.
Yeah. I was gonna say that. Yeah, our toughest critics are us.
Yeah,
which is fine. I'm like, I don't mind being criticized. Again, if you when you publish something and put it out in the ether, you are opening yourself up to criticism.
Yeah.
And there are gonna be people who are gonna absolutely salute what you're doing, and there's gonna be people who are gonna be like, nope, it's not what I do. And then you're gonna have those folks that just look, man. You got to remember, there are always people out there that just want to see the world burn. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's trash.
Yeah.
That's trash. They'll never come to your dojo. They'll never come by. They'll never there was one of the guys that we had posted some stuff, and they're like, BS, it's BS, it'll never work. And I'm like, bro, you're in New York City. He's in New York City. Go to his dojo.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If you really want to learn, you want to live an F around and find out moment, by all means, go to his dojo, find out, test it. Hey, pressure test it, man. I'm like, go there and see how that's going to work out for you.
Instead of bumping your gums.
Yeah, I'm like, but they don't, and they won't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they're comfortable being able to say that part. Well, it does, and but I've heard of situations. I actually saw one about 6 months ago, where somebody did come in, and they did try to pressure test a thing, and they lived a true F around and find out moment, and then you watched it happen in real time. I still believe the technique's ineffective, and you're just the exception to the rule.
They have it convinced in their mind. So it doesn't. That's why you just don't entertain them at all.
Well, that's the point. You just can't win, right? You can't fix stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, so it's one of those things where I watched it in real time. The person literally went to, but if that other person does it, it's not going to.
Yeah, you start creating other, what if I had a knife?
Yeah, what if I did this? What if I did that? Yeah, the what if, coulda, shoulda. Yeah. And you just.
But you didn't.
But you did, man. You know what I'm saying?
Another topic, before we wind it down, I had this discussion, I was thinking deeply about this, and I was talking to my students about, are you a martial art teacher or a martial artist? Now, being a martial artist is an umbrella term, but now think about this for a sec. Do you teach science? Are you a science teacher, or are you a scientist? All right. And so now, what's the difference between a science teacher and a scientist? All right. And so you start thinking about it. You're teaching science, and that's all around. You're teaching biology. I'm preparing you for something here. You know what I mean? Whether you want to take this as a career. Okay. So yes, I do know these different subject matters. But I am not a scientist. It's not to say that you can't be both. Yes, there are science teachers, and when they're done teaching their day job, then they go to the lab.
Yeah, they're still working it. Yeah.
And so now we're talking scientists. That's someone that's an action. They're actually putting in work. Okay, and so one is not the other. The scientists can teach you things and probably go to a school and give a lecture and all that, but they're not science teachers.
Well, it's like that old saying, right? If the people that can't do, teach.
Right. So now the same thing. I always use academia all the time because it's the perfect model. It's the perfect example. And so now for me, I had to think, for me personally, I was like, am I a martial artist or a martial art teacher? And then I was like, well, you know what? I'm probably 70% martial art teacher, 30% martial artist or so, give or take, because I do practice and I do work out and I do things, but I'm more about structure and building a curriculum. And this is a reality because the thing is, you got a lot of martial art teachers who are not training and not doing what they're supposed to be doing, and you're going to have one of those fuck around and find out moments.
Yeah.
All right?
Well, it's one of those stay in your lane.
You become delusional thinking you can handle yourself. And I'm like, when's the last time you did anything?
Yeah. Or even with that, it's, if you're, yes, I agree. One of the things when I'm coaching judo and teaching, I'm not training. I recognize that because I can't.
Right.
Because I'm going to ignore students at that point. I'm no longer going to be actively paying attention to what guys that are there. Look, in the end of the day, you still have paying customers. You still have people who are paying club dues to come to the dojo to get lessons. Right? So I have to have a separate time to do that. I have to. So like Coach Ray, when he's in town on the weekends, he ain't teaching. It's training. It's literally we come in, we bow in, and we go right to work, right? And it's a training session because it's his time. You know what I'm saying? It's a Jutekure kind of thing. On a Monday or a Wednesday, we're teaching. And that's different because now I'm paying more attention to the student. And I might do uchikomi, warm my body up and stuff like that with you. But for the most part, and I'm just really still feeling you out. If you're coming in incorrectly, I might stop you. And now I'm breaking the cipher, right? I'm like, I'm no longer getting that conditioning in. I'm no longer getting that training time in. So you're absolutely correct, man. Yes, there are plenty of guys out there in the martial systems that for whatever reason, when you're teaching, you're no longer actively training.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. You can still pressure test. You can still be drilling and stuff like that. And that'll kind of keep the tools that you use, it'll kind of keep you active with your tools.
Right.
But for the most part, no, you're not really in competitor shape anymore and stuff like that. Yeah, you could probably fudge through a round or two, but I've watched guys doing the point sparring thing. You can tell they're, oh man. Oh, geez. Oh, how many minutes was that? It was only a minute. Really? They just making sure they're still alive, you know what I'm saying, and stuff like that. But, and that's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's just know that. Know that.
Just know that.
Know thyself.
So, because I mean, with the disputes between instructors and the last podcast you had talked about, why do people fight at these events?
Because that's
and I'm just like, a lot of these folks are not in optimum shape at all.
Well, that's the point.
And then you see what's going on. You're like, oh my God, I've seen these fights. I've seen them before, and they're horrible. I mean, I was like, wow, you look like a cat fight.
Yeah.
I was like, I seen no technique at all.
No, the craziest one was watching two. So it was a BJJ tournament, and the end of the day, for whatever reason, two coaches go at it, right? And you'd have thought they would have grappled, but they didn't.
They didn't.
They went straight punch kick, like they were like bolos, noogies. They were all over the place. Yeah, they were like, and there was no grappling involved, and it was just kind of like, and it was a spectacle. And it was embarrassing to everybody and stuff like that, and because it didn't need to go that way. And I guess these two guys have been hating on each other for a while, and it was just a fever pitch. They happened to be in the same clip, and it was a call that really the ref screwed up, man. For those that know what I'm talking about, the ref made a bad call. You know what I'm saying? But in the end of the day, because it was the catalyst, right? It led it, and then these two guys, they just kind of went from. To just, you saw it coming, right? In slow motion, they were like, mother. They went, blah, they were, blah, blah, blah. It looked like, was it Gojuru tournament? Really, they were like hitting each, like they shinzageris. They like, boom. And then when it didn't even last. When they did get to the ground, everybody, there was
Jumped
a pig
in.
pile. Yeah, so I was
Yeah.
like, but it addressed real violence. At
Right.
that point, it's not a one-on-one grapple.
It's not the
I'm
same.
like, yeah, everybody started like, grabbing each other.
Remember the Looney Tunes where you would see a big cloud and you would see fists and hands in the cloud, and that's what I've been seeing. And this is something that I make a connection to. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say this part. The only cool thing I will say is that no one grabbed their phone. No one had their phone out to film it. Like, even the women that were in the stands they were coming in. Like, it was crazy. It was pandemonium and stuff like that. And I'm watching this, and I'm pulling my friends back, and stuff like that. But I'm watching this in real time going, holy shit. Well, that was a part of cake that happened really fast. Like, whoa, that was crazy. Right. Yeah. But yeah, anyway.
No, it is crazy. And so, once again, think about it like this, right? And it's a mixed bag here. It's 50-50. Your football coach knows the game very freaking well. That's why he's the head freaking coach. Mm-hmm. Now, are you better and stronger than any of the athletes on that field? No.
No. I'm like,
but you have the skill to turn them into the best of the best. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Same thing with baseball, basketball. You think you can outshoot this guy? No, you cannot. He's elite. But you are head coach because of your intelligence and what you know. You know more than what they know. You're there to groom them and make them the best they can be. Now, there are certain other coaches. This is where the 50-50 come in. All right. Wrestling coach.
Well, no, but a wrestling
you
coach
were
can
on
still,
that mat.
No, but
still.
I was going to make that statement. Listen, yes, as a solid wrestling coach, yes, you're still getting on the mat because you're still kind of showing them what to do. But your top athlete is going to eat you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
But you have a history of being on the mat. I got medals.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
when my daughter wrestled, Daddy had to let her know. I was like, yeah, your dad, yep. Here's that double for you.
Yeah.
I'm
your
like,
daughter's a beast.
Yeah, so I mean.
I was like, ooh.
Yeah, she was a monster, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, no, I'm like, I wish she had stayed with it, but that's, whatever. Well, college is college. Well, when she told me she was going to school for math, I realized the wrestling days were going to be far gone.
Yeah, so because she has a knack for it.
Oh, dude, I'm like, listen, I told you how embarrassing that was, right? So I know it's a little off subject, but I go to see her at school, and they have one of the. So I recognized the Fibonacci sequence as soon as I saw it, right, and stuff like that, because I like puzzles that way. So I was like, okay, it's mathematical. I know this, but they had the I'm gonna butcher it. The Pythagorean
the Pythagoras theorem.
Yeah, on the wall.
Yeah,
right. And of course, there's a joke associated with this particular. Algorithm,
one
right?
of those.
Yeah. So her and her friends, and she's breaking it down, right? And she's telling me the joke and stuff like that, and they're dying. I, at this point, did not get any of it. I like I said, I recognize the Fibonacci sequence, and then there's these jumble of like mathy stuff on walls. And I'm like, look, I failed calculus twice. I'm like, yeah, but and I'm looking at this, and they're dying, and I'm dying because I'm laughing at them because they're all. I mean, of course, the whole time she's thinking I got the joke.
Yeah,
which was even worse. And we go to the Chinese food restaurant afterwards to eat, and she's really appreciating that I got the math. And at the time I was debating on whether or not to tell her that I really just didn't get the joke.
I was just laughing with you.
Yeah, I was laughing with you.
Wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, I was like, because you guys were so animated. And so I finally tell her that. And it was like I let her down. Like, it was one of the worst moments of my life. like I went from being on that pedestal to like, you suck. I couldn't believe it. She was just kind of looking at me the whole time, and it got really silent, like she does, Alicia, you know. And Tiger was just kind of like, she's like, yeah, you're just a normal person.
Yeah,
yeah. So there's that part. Yeah. So like Barak is the math guy. Like he does the math. He's all about those equations. He likes the puzzles. At me, I'm tried to go there. I remember you were trying to explain. Was it the Star? It was something. Neil deGrasse Tyson. Was he
Yeah, but there was quite a few things.
No. This is the trip to California, and you were breaking it down and he went into like this tangent, and I had just never seen it's like Barak is passionate about martial arts in general, but then watching him get really passionate about it was astrophysics.
Yeah,
and he's just bam, and I'm like. Oh, shit. Oh, boy. You started, and now you're asking me active questions to make sure I was actively paying attention.
Yeah, I was.
And he's like, so what did I just say there about the stars and how they're relative to, and I'm like, look, I didn't know there was going to be a test. Why is there a test?
Oh, boy.
That was great.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Speaking of which, before we go, I was in Albuquerque.
Okay. Oh,
again,
yep.
and stuff like that. So that, so that was a good thing. I did take a lot of right turns while I was there.
If you don't understand that reference,
I'm
you're
just
too
aging
young.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah, you're too young.
But and then I thought about you because somebody brought up Roswell
Yes.
and stuff, and I was like, I was so upset.
I really enjoyed it.
I know you did.
Yeah, it's freaking Roswell, man.
I'm like, yeah, oh man, I was so upset. I don't know what I expected, but I just expected more.
No, it was just enough. It is what it is. You know, I liked the town. I thought the town was cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
So,
I thought it was cool.
I don't know. I would have been nice to see something fly overhead. I don't know. That's kind of what led to the whole conversation about they asked stuff like that. So all right, we're at time, man. Do we have anything else? Do we have anything that's coming up that we should be letting folks know about?
You know what? Now that I'm being put on the spot. No, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, I really can't either. We do have, so we're hoping that episode does materialize. I know Black Hawk is going to be the one spearheading that. And it's going to be on the African martial arts or martial systems that came to America and stuff like that we typically, they're here, but we don't really look at them as African martial arts, and it's to really clear the air and let folks know where that stuff is. You know, I like that because in the month of June, it is Juneteenth. It's the whole month.
Yes.
If I had my way, this would be Black History Month. You know, hopefully we should change that. Why? The February just sucks to have that. I get it. Yeah. Well, it's not even that, man. I get why and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying, and stuff. And it's right after King's birthday, and stuff like that. So you kind of. But I always say Juneteenth. It was our independence. And there are a lot of things that come with that. And I feel like that'd be a good time to really tell the story and stuff like that, the American story and stuff, Reconstruction, and all that other good stuff. So that, I mean, that's always been my thought process with that. But anyway, so hopefully that materializes. I hope it does, because I feel like that would be a really good episode and stuff like that. I do know that we have something coming up with Glenn. I don't know with all of us, because it's summertime, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know when we're going to do a group episode again, because we're all trying to align
sync it up.
I'm in the middle of my tournament season, and stuff like that. I think we have the U.S. Open coming up, and then after that
is this weekend.
No. I'm talking about for judo. That's next month.
I was thinking golf.
Yeah,
because I was like, that's this weekend. It's in Long Island.
I'm like, Tiger Woo. But well, he ain't gonna be there. But
a couple of my students will be there. They'll be doing the catering.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Yeah. That's so great.
Yeah.
That's oh man. I do love golf.
Yeah.
It does sound like I got something caught in my throat, golf. But so with that being said, I'm again with my partner in crime, Barak, Yalad, Shidoshi.
And I'm with my partner here, Israel Lopez, Sensei.
And you've been listening to
The Martial Maze.
Happy Juneteenth, y'all.